Come
I
on,
was
man.
saying, guys.
You keep on forgetting. Episode
Yeah, what
9.
can I say? We're off to a great start already. I've said that so many times after butchering intros. I said we're off to a
Yeah.
great start.
How was your weekend? Did you have a good weekend though?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad today. Today was date night with the girlfriend. Worked
Oh.
Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, in this episode, we're just gonna be open book. We're just gonna talk about, a lot of stuff, maybe growing up, all different areas we're probably gonna cover today. Um, the thing with our podcast, I feel, is we don't really fit that generic bill that we don't go off what the media kind of says we should like or dislike. Um, for instance, our top 10 music, you did a lot of alternative rock, and you didn't have one of, the top 10, we say, artists. Like you never had AC/DC, you didn't have Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, Van Halen, all those top dogs you didn't have, and so I was more rap music, and I didn't have a lot of those big albums either. So on our podcast, we kind of, don't go with, the consensus generic answers. We kind of go up how we're feeling, and we don't really feel embarrassed or however people feel about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have, in some cases, we have good taste that people would agree with. In other senses, we have like very unique taste that some people be like, "Huh, you really like that much?" And I think that goes with our like whether we were talking about our top albums or when we were talking about earlier our top video games and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
know I definitely had some ones that most people are like, "Those are fucking stinkers. What are you talking about?"
Yeah. So let's kind of dive into why we kind of like that stuff and what our genetics are from, what we got from early on. But I want to say something here. I know you just said you had a date night with the good old wifey to be.
Yeah,
Talk a little bit how you captured her, because I remember when you first started working at I won't say the place you worked at, but when you first
yeah,
started working there,
a
you
furniture
came
store.
you came home and you were like, "Oh my god, guys, the hottest chick works there. You guys don't even know how hot she is. You guys got to come in and see her." So I remember we all jumped in the vehicle and we all had to go
Illumina,
scope
the
her out a
Illumina.
little bit. So how did Dan end up winning the hottest chick at the at the
Oh,
at the furniture store?
oh man, I wish I had like a cool story, but like
Because
friend zone
honestly,
for I was friend zoned for a while, probably to be honest with you. Not gonna lie, I can't even lie. I gotta say that without shame. Yeah, I know I was friend zoned for a long time. I worked that shit in by building trust. I'm,
oh, she
I'm
made
like
you work for it,
embarrassed to
eh?
give like the nice. I'm like embarrassed giving the nice guy answer.
Yeah, she made you work for it, eh?
Yeah, yeah. What can I
Because
say?
it's funny, like we run the podcast, but like I've probably only met, your fiance maybe a handful of times, right? Not
Mm.
saying like, I hate her or whatever, but I'm just, life's just
Saying
been
you
so
don't hate
busy.
her or anything, though.
No, because like when you guys were all doing that, I was just friggin' doing my thing, man. Um,
Yeah.
it was a rough, yeah. Because I remember you were just, bragging about this girl. You guys gotta come see her, come take her, and then you ended up, winning her over. So that's a pretty cool story, though, eh?
Yeah. Well, what can I say? I
You got the
definitely
sweet
was.
charm.
I always felt like I was like batting out of my league when I started dating her. That's for sure. And I definitely like to show it off maybe a little bit too much.
Because I remember when I first moved up here. So I'm talking about I used to live in Toronto and I moved up here in grade two. So that was the summer of '99. I moved up
Oh yeah.
here. Yeah,
No, 99. Right. Right.
yeah, to Ennisville, and I remember two things when I first went to school. Obviously, you're nervous; it's a new school. Um, to be honest with you, there was only about what 4 or 5 colored families up in this
Yeah, I think that's
area.
about right.
There wa-
4, I think, that we went
Yeah,
to school with. At least there's about 4 that we went to school with around our
yeah,
age, I guess.
yeah. And I remember when I walked through the door. my eyes immediately beamed at the only black kid that was in the in the class, and
And
that's where I went, and that's where I met my best friend. But talking about how you got with Carrie Ann, I remember there was a girl there that I just, you know, honestly just fell for. I don't know if you know
oh
this. I think you might
wait,
know this, yeah.
I don't know
But
if you want to say the name, but can you give me like initials if you don't want to say the
no,
name?
I'll say the name. I just won't say the last name. But
Okay, okay.
what happened was it was like a movie. Like at that time, for anyone, if anyone knows us that's watching this, our school used to have dances, but before then, the dances would be in another town next to us, and it was called Stroud, and it was at the Stroud.
That's the shot
It
arena.
was at the Stroud Hockey Arena, and
Yeah.
I was in grade two at the time, grade two or three, and we went there because I had all older kids on the street, so I need to have like a guardian watcher, so they said they would watch me there, and I remember someone had brought coffee beans because they were like, Chris, we're going to be here till like 9, 10. Make sure you eat a couple coffee beans to help you stay awake.
Coffee beans. What the fuck?
But anyway, the girl that I was the girl that I was crushing on, I was actually asleep in the chair, so the coffee beans didn't work. And I felt a nudge and I woke up and she was like, "Oh, you want it? Would you like to dance?" And it was like out of the movies, man. I couldn't believe it. And then back then you're doing the hand on the hip, kind of just swaying back and
Yeah,
forth dance. But her
like a
name was
foot between your waists.
yeah, and her name was Bryce.
Oh, okay. I remember.
Her name was Bryce. So I remember the next day I was with my best friend Jordan. We were in grade two at the time, grade two or three, and she comes up to me and she's like, um, do you wanna go out with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I didn't know that meant date, right? And then she
Right.
walked away. So I remember I looked at my friend Jordan. I went, Jordan, I don't know where I'm gonna take her. I got no money. And and he was like, dude, just take her to the pizza. So that's how that worked out, man. So that's kind of a funny story when I moved up here, when you see that girl that you really like and then somehow, some way, it just comes together and you don't even.
How did pizza with no money come together though?
I don't know. That was the only spot. That's the only spot we could think of going on a date. Remember, I was in grade two, so he was just like, just take her up to pizza. But another funny thing, there was also back then there was the Much dance mixes. Do you remember that?
Oh yes, of course I
Yeah.
remember those. Yeah.
So there was a Much dance mix, and it had a song called "Ice Ice Baby," and all the kids used to change and go Bryce Bryce Baby. So,
Oh man. So that was grade two. That's your first girlfriend, grade two.
yeah, that was my first girlfriend in grade. Well, if you call it that, right? I don't
Right,
know,
right.
but
I had my first. I remember grade school crush, grade one, and
do
I
I know
remember
the
this.
name? I know
Yeah, I
I
don't even.
wasn't there at that time, but I probably know the name if we grew up with them.
Yeah, you remember. It was. Do you remember Rylan?
Oh yeah,
It's her in grade one. Yeah, and
oh yeah.
I remember inviting her to my birthday party. My mom planned this birthday party at Michael's because I was into arts and crafts. So it was gonna be this craft party at Michael's, right? My birthday was in March break, so like you had to send out the invites early, but like a week before to all the parents and stuff like that. Nobody shows up to my birthday except for her. So literally, like she walks in, like looks for the other kids. There's nobody else there. It's just me
Oh,
and my little sister and her.
oh,
The three of
that
us
would
made crafts.
that would have been weird, yo.
Yeah, it was pretty. Even when I was that young, I was old. Like I was old enough to know, like this is humiliating.
But I remember the one birthday party I went to yours. It was pretty ballin'. We went mini putting.
I was the next year. That's because
Yeah,
my parents felt bad for me, and my parents were like, well, we got to have a banger the next year.
yeah. 'Cause I remember there was quite a few people at that one.
Oh yeah, I have a picture still. I sent it to
Yeah,
you a bunch of times of you. Shelly, Nick,
Yeah.
guys from back in the day, all in grade 2 of my birthday. And I still remember you got me fucking Wolverine on a motorcycle. I still remember that
Oh, is
shit.
that what I got you? Nice.
Still remember that. Yeah.
Because I remember, you remember this in grade 2. Also, this was my first year. Um, I hope she's doing good. Obviously, she's much, much older now. But our grade 2 teacher, I'll call her name out because she was a straight bitch.
Oh,
Miss
fuck yeah, she was.
Miss Wagner, that was her name. And oh my good God, I don't know if she was racist or not, but she treated me, myself and Jordan like complete shit, man.
Yeah, we actually mentioned that on an earlier podcast. I was saying the only time I ever got in trouble from her was anytime I hung out with you guys. I remember we would go do whatever, and that's when I would get thrown out. She could put us out in the computer room. That was like our timeout area. And that's
Yeah,
anytime I was out in the computer room, it was always with you guys.
but the funny thing is, like, her sending me to the computer room really wasn't a punishment. Because, like I said, I
I know
grew
where
up,
you're going. I know where you're going.
I grew up with older kids. So her sending me to the computer room wasn't a punishment for me. It was more pleasure. So that's all. That's all I'm gonna say. So
Oh, gross.
I got a one up on her, but I got a funny story about her. She called Jordan and I over one time, and I guess someone had wrote sex on the floor, and like it was underneath the rug. And she called us over, and she's like, "Which one of you guys did this? I know you guys did this." And like Jordan and I had to play it off, but for real, I never wrote it. Like if I wrote it, I would have said it, right? And I don't think Jordan wrote it either. And we were like, "Oh, we don't even know what that word is. We have no idea what that
Like
is,
stupid.
right?" And you know what she goes and
Like you're
says?
jerking off in the computer room.
Hey,
No,
I said I was having pleasure time in the computer room. I didn't say I was masturbating in it.
I know. I'm just jumping to conclusions.
But she looks at us after that and she goes, "You know what? You guys are right. That is way too advanced for you two." I was
Oh
like,
my
"You're
god! Wow.
She was a straight dick, yo. Miss Wagner from Alcona Glen. I'll call her out. I'll call the school out, yo. She was almost as bad as Mr. Warman.
Oh, you didn't like Warman? I actually liked Warman. Maybe he had to like me and him got along really well when I was
We
a
got him
kid.
fired.
What?
We got him fired, yo.
Wait, you're talking about the French guy?
No, Mr. Warman, what happened was, again, Jordan and I, we were the only, one of the three or four black guys or brown guys or colored guys, I'd say. And we went to the bathroom one time, and these older kids, they were in grade 8, and we were in grade, I want to say 3 again. And these older kids attacked us, and they were trying to give us
What?
swirlies. Yeah, they were trying to give us swirlies and attacked us in the bathroom. So we were fighting back, and we were, screaming and yelling and swearing. And Mr. Warman comes in, and we're like, they were trying to give us swirlies, and he was like, no, they're not. They would never do that. These are the nicest boys ever. Whatever, whatever. I don't care what you guys say. So then we went and told the principal, and he had to come in, apologize. He had to write us apology letters on
Oh
our
my
parents.
god.
Yeah, and like the next week or so, he was gone. So he might have put in his 2 weeks or something and just took off.
Oh my god. So he just liked me because I was a honky. Jesus. He was German. Makes sense.
Yeah, because I didn't like. It's funny, like when you move up to like a town like that from coming to the city, and you're like one of the few colored people. Like I didn't go through too much racism, but there was like the one girl when the first day I got there, she called me diarrhea boy. Um,
We used to say that about girls in high school that were white. So
yeah, I know, but like she actually got suspended for it too in like grade 2, which was crazy. But I
dude,
remember
you know
like,
grade 2? You were talking about Wagner or whatever. She accused me of dropping the N-word in grade 2. And I
oh, did
remember
you?
when it happened, I couldn't even comprehend the situation because I didn't even know what the fuck that meant. Like I was a white kid. Why would I have known? And I like you said, like 2, it was like 2, 3, like like minorities in our entire school that we grew up with. I never heard it ever, never heard it at home. Like, and I remember it happening, and then years later, my mom like explaining and me being like, "What? That's what happened? Jesus, what the?"
Because I can remember too, like even my dad back then. My dad used to have that '81 Trans Am. I know you probably remember that.
Oh
My
yeah,
dad,
yeah.
yeah, and he would be driving it down Innisfil Beach Road, and the countless times they stopped him. And I remember they stopped him one time, and the cop came out, and he's like, "Whose car is this? This is a nice car. Whose car is this?" My dad's like, "Mine." He's like, "Are you sure it's yours? Let me see your license and registration." And then my dad gave him all the information.
Oh,
He comes back. He's like, "Huh? I'm surprised this is your car." And my dad's like, "Well, what does the insurance and registration say?" It said my dad's name. My dad's like, "Okay, thank you. Give him my stuff. We're done here." And like, there's just little funny things like that, right? But
well,
I
even
remember.
you, I when you get pulled over in the Walmart parking lot, and I'm asking you like,
Oh,
"Where are you coming
yeah.
from?" You're like, "Walmart?" Like,
Oh yeah, you remember that? Yeah. So
yeah.
it was me, you, David, my ex, and was your ex there?
I don't think so. I don't think
No.
so.
So it was that. So we go in the Walmart, and we see him there. He's looking at us going to Walmart. We come out of Walmart with Walmart bags. We get in the car. He pulls us over in the parking lot. Gets it. Wow, where you guys coming from? What are you guys doing? And then yeah, like you said, I was like, we just came out of Walmart. Oh yeah, you sure? What do you guys got back there? What do you guys got back there? A couple cokes? Couple cokes? Like,
What a cook.
oh yo, these cops up there, yo. I remember this when I went to Sobeys with my. This was the last kind of racist thing I ever got up there. My nephew was about 4 or 5, so he would be like, "Hey, Uncle Chris, you want to go to Sobeys?" So we'd walk over to the Sobeys, and I was about, oh fuck, I must have been like 22, 23.
Right.
So we're walking there, and I see these young kids in a lifted red pickup. So I'm like, oh god. And then and then
Okay.
all I hear is these kids yelling in the parking lot, terrorists, terrorists. So I stop my nephew. I'm like, hold on a second, yo, let me see what this terrorist is. I'm looking around like, yo, where's the terrorist? And then, and then they're yelling at me, and I'm like, oh, they're talking to me. So I went inside, and then when I came back out, they started saying that again. So like, it was like 4 of them, and I was with my little nephew, so I just went up to them, and I was like, "How old are you, man?" And I think he said like 18. No, he said 16 or 17. Like he probably just got his license. And like I said, I was probably about 22 to like 25 range. And I was like, buddy, I've lived in Canada for 24 years. I'm more Canadian than you. And like he just he just shut his mouth, but man.
He was like, "Yeah, Miss Wagner, Mr. Warman like me more."
But tell me, growing up, you didn't live in Innisfil your whole life, did you? Or did you move
Majority.
from
I
I
mean,
like
I moved at 3.5 or 4 to Innisfil. So I was born in Brampton or
mhm.
Bramalea. I don't know which of the two. It used to. I think it's all Brampton now, but it used to be half Bramalea or some shit like that. I don't know my history of that of the
'Cause
city, but
I know younger you was really into snowmobiling. What
oh my
happened to
god,
that?
yes.
'Cause did you ever
Oh,
you fell out of loving snowmobiling, did you, or do you still love it?
I think it's just the investment in financially and time as you get older. I mean, when I was a kid, it was like I literally was on the snowcross circuit. I mean, when I was a kid, that was my sport. My dad brainwashed me from the time I was a like toddler to love snowmobiling. He sat me in front of the TV with countless like VHSs of snowmobiles, stunts, racing, whatever, and I would sit there on top of a toy snowmobile and simulate all the moves and stuff since I was a little kid. So as I got older, like my dad got me the Kitty Cat, which was like the smallest of kids' snowmobiles. And then as I got a little older, I remember Christmas, greatest Christmas present I ever got, finding the key under the Christmas tree and be like, "What's this?" My dad like, "I don't know. Go look in the garage." And I go out there, and my my Skidoo Mini Zed was there. Oh my god,
Oh,
greatest Christmas present ever! And they don't even make that shit anymore. Those
no.
kid sleds. But yeah, I was on the professional like CSR race circuit, racing kids snowmobiles, and it was awesome as a kid because like you think about like growing up as a fan of sports, right? Say you grew up a fan of basketball, and it's like you play it as a kid, but the best you can do is play it through your school or whatever, play at some rep team outside of school. But like when you grow up like loving something like snowmobiling, I was able to race in the circuit. I was like in the pits with like the guys that were like my heroes when I was a kid and stuff.
Yeah, that's
I was able to
amazing.
guys sit on their snowmobiles and stuff. It was a really cool experience. Like, and for me, those guys were at that age, they were the epitome of sports because I hadn't got into like maybe into hockey a little bit, but not like basketball, football. I didn't know anything about that at that age. That's like kindergarten, grade 1 age. I was doing that.
Yeah, because I remember Walmart back then used to have the sick snowmobile jackets.
Oh
Remember those?
yeah,
Yeah, they had the
God! When
cool
we were
black.
kids, everybody in our town rocked skidoo jackets.
Yeah, yeah. Even me, I had one and I didn't even know what the fuck it was.
I
Just like
still
when I
remember ripping
go
you
ahead,
and
go ahead.
you and Sean around town on the back of me and Jerv's snowmobiles.
Oh fuck yeah, that's it. I remember even too like when I moved up here, like I didn't even know what the fuck hockey was, and these kids
Oh,
were
really?
like, yeah, the kids on the street were like, Chris, you want to play hockey? And I'm like, what the hell is hockey? And they were like, they're like, who do you want to be? And I'm like, I don't know. What team should I be? And they were all Leafs fans. So they were like, okay, well, we're going to put you, you're going to be on the New Jersey Devils and you'll be freaking Scott Gomez or something like
Oh,
that.
Scott Gomez. Oh, that's David's favorite hockey
Yeah.
player.
So they
Scott
put,
Gomez.
so they put him on the New Jersey Devils. So from like grade 3 to grade 6, New Jersey Devils was my hockey team. But
You're a
then I
Devils
became,
fan, eh?
yeah, and
For a little bit.
then I became a Leafs fan. So, and then that's where I'm sticking to it, right? Even though it's like
Yeah.
one of the most painful things ever. But you
Yeah,
love
it
to see.
definitely is.
I only have to be alive for one team winning in Canada, and the Raptors won it. That's all I need to see, man.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
never thought I would see a Canadian sports team win a major championship. Given, given the only good thing Danny Green ever did in that playoff run was injure Clay Thompson. So I think thank you for
everybody
that.
was injured on the Warriors in that playoff
Yeah.
run.
Yeah.
The way Durant was moving in that finals, it was like depressing to see. Like,
Yeah, it would we wouldn't have won for sure if Durant was playing.
healthy. Yeah.
No.
But hey, it
Yeah,
happens. Like,
that's it. So growing up though, what was your favorite movies? Do you remember your favorite movies growing up? I don't want to hear Star Wars though. I want to hear your favorite movies growing up as a kid.
well, you know, I look back, I think of what I had on VHS because that was the shit I watched all the time as a kid, right? Shit I had on VHS. For me, like, and like, I'm sure for you, we're both born in the '90s. One of the staples were Disney animated movies. I remember having all those Disney VHSs. You had those big white plastic cases that they came in, those
Yeah.
bulky cases. I had fuck tons of those. And on top of that, not like too many like adult oriented movies as a little kid, but like the stuff I remember outside Disney, Land Before Time. I know you
Oh
must have
yeah.
watched that. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
everybody already watched Land Before Time, and then people
You
older than
got
us
P
too. I think
trio,
like, fuck
little
yeah,
P trio,
Petrie.
Littlefoot. That's where I got Littlefoot from.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, my
an
ex.
old friend of both of ours. I used to call her Littlefoot, but yeah, um, a lot of those classics. I know growing up, my favorites were obviously when I say them, you're gonna know right away. Small Soldiers was
Oh
one
my
I
god,
loved.
yeah.
Indian in the Cupboard. Do you
I
remember
don't
that?
know that one actually. I don't know that
No.
one.
So
No, I don't know that one.
basically, and you got to watch this one. I know you'll like it because this boy he gets a cupboard for his birthday. So what happens is when he puts toys in it and he turns the key to lock it and unlock it, the toys come alive.
Oh shit,
Yeah,
that is
so
good concept for a kid.
he befriends an Indian toy, like an Indian guy, and then He befriends him, and then there's also a cowboy. They become good friends and stuff. So you should watch that. You'll really like that. I'm
Almost like
surprised you haven't seen that movie.
Jumanji-esque, maybe, kind of like.
Not really, not really, but it got you. You'll like it. You'd like it. Try that. And do you remember a movie called fuck, what's it? Star I think it's called Star Child. Do you remember a crazy
No, I
movie
don't
like
remember
that?
that either.
Oh,
Star Child.
you sure? That movie's nuts, yo. That I was into
Star
that.
Dust,
Obviously,
you mean?
Toy Toy Story.
Fuck yeah, Toy Story. Do you remember the
Yeah.
game Toy? Do you ever play the game Toy Story?
Oh yeah.
Either of them, like
Those are good games. Those are pretty good games, man. But
Toy Story 2 on N64. Woo!
let me ask you this then. You don't have to answer it as like a kid or whatever, just right now. So if you were locked in a movie theater for the rest of your life and you could only watch one movie for the rest of your life, have one movie theater drink and one movie theater food, what would they be for the rest of your life?
Well, I mean, my favorite food that I would get at a movie theater potentially, because you can't get like cheeseburgers at some movie theaters. I would say a cheeseburger, but I think if we're at a movie theater, no, I'm just gonna go with popcorn, buttered popcorn with a root beer, and I'm
Now
gonna get.
this is the tough part. Now you gotta pick your movie, man.
No, I'm gonna just go with my favorite movie of all time, Apocalypse Now.
Oh, you gonna watch that for the rest of your life, yo?
Damn right, damn right. I used to literally watch that movie at least once a week.
Yeah, because like at a point in high school, for any of you guys out there, when hopefully this podcast starts to take off a little bit, but once it does, we will upload a movie that we did in high school and out of high school, and basically this man right here started to fall in love in high school with the Vietnam War,
Vietnam
and
movie specifically.
yeah, and I remember we were just in gym class, and you just kept talking about it. So I think one of us were just like, "Why don't we just film a war movie?" And we all were
Yeah,
like, "Oh, that's
I
not a
wanted
bad
to do it
idea." So
originally.
I'll let you explain what happened next, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, in my mind, it felt like it felt like a bunch of things put together at once. Like I was fucking obsessed with these Vietnam movies. And then David, I got really into them too. Like he was familiar with a couple of them, and then me never shutting up about them got him into it too. And then on top of that, like you remember we were doing the film unit in Matthew's English
Yeah.
class and shit like that. So there's all this thought about like making film, and then I started like convincing myself, yo, I should do this for fun, for shits or whatever, and then see if I like it, and then maybe even look at doing like film school for college or something like that.
Yeah.
And originally I just figured, because I was like, well, there's no way we're gonna film a fucking movie. We're not gonna do that. I'm not gonna be able to even convince the guys to do that. So I just wanted to do like a little short, like maybe have just like soldiers walking through the jungle or whatever, and have like a Vietnam era rock song playing, like a CCR song or something like that, playing over top, and just have like this 2 minute thing. And then it just progressed from there. I threw that idea out there, like you guys kind of bit on it, and then we started talking about it, evolving it from there, and it just became like into making a full fucking movie, basically.
Yeah, and it got crazy that
Series.
like the first one, you went all out. You bought a replica helmet. You had
That was the second one. No, that's the second one. The
oh, that
replica
was the
helmet.
second. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, but
the first
the
one
first one.
we went to Angie's. It was Angie's something like
Oh
army
yes,
surplus, and we
yeah,
got like bent over for like a few things. And then
yeah,
we went to the dollar store, and we had like the tiniest, fucking shittiest looking guns. The first one, still, it's our masterpiece. But
yeah. Like what happened was we had filmed almost half of it, and then we had
yeah,
two guys that basically just quit on us. So we had to go in
four
there
lead
and
roles.
yeah,
Two of them was us, and then two of them were the other guys.
then we had to go in there and kind of mastermind a new plot, and
Yeah, we
then
killed them all.
we had a premiere, and they didn't even know that the movie was complete. So it
Yeah,
was kind of cool. All our parents were there. Obviously at the time our girlfriends were there.
Oh no,
And,
the best part about it is we for all the premieres we'd always have somebody invite random girls, so they would
oh
come in
yes.
and they'd be like, "What are we doing?" And they'd be like, "We're having a movie premiere," and they're like, "Fuck you talking about?" And then we'd sit down and start playing this shit. And they'd be like, "Where am I? What am I doing right now?"
But I remember for the first movie, oh my goodness, your dad was fucking dying, yo.
Thought Dad's actually gonna die. He was like freaking out so much, like coughing.
And then we did the second one that's actually like an hour long.
It is like with everything, like the trailers, everything,
Yeah.
bloopers. It's over an hour, I think, right?
And
Like,
then we had like some editing program. We didn't even know how to use it. We were just trying to figure everything out on the fly.
it's
We were just now really starting to get into full-time work too. So it was kind of
yeah,
like when everyone's off, let's try to meet up, even if it's for one scene at a time. It really took a
exactly.
little while because I remember it was weird. It would be like, for me, I would be like hanging out with my ex, and it'd be like, oh, I gotta take you home for like a couple hours because I gotta go film the movie.
Yeah,
And
'cause
there
we just
was,
had to
it was,
jump at every opportunity we
yeah,
had.
it
Our
was kind of like
girlfriends
weird.
definitely suffered.
And then I remember when we were doing the premiere again, and your sister was like, "Oh my god, it's a prequel! No, a sequel."
Oh
She's
no,
like,
she
"Oh
was
my
shocked it
god, it's a
wasn't a prequel
sequel!" Yeah,
because
because
we
she,
killed off half the characters in the first one. So they're like, well, there's no way it could be a sequel. But then we found a way to write it back in, like they never died after
yeah.
all. It was all mixed up.
So
Well,
I'll
I
say this:
played our one buddy's
once,
corpse in the first one.
yeah, once this video or any of our videos gets 1,000 views, we will post number one.
The greatest movie of all time. Well, maybe
Yeah,
second greatest or two.
and once we get a decent fan base and we get famous and shit, we'll autograph one for somebody. You know what I mean? It'll be worth thousands.
Yeah.
By the time we're gone, it'll be worth thousands. But I remember, like at the time, I was working at Goodwill, and we were gonna burn copies and put them on the shelves there
Little
for
shelves, yeah.
for, for 50
And you were
cents.
mentioning
Maybe
that us
someone would have
working
bought
full
it.
time for the second one. That's also when like I went retarded with the budget because it's like I was working. I was actually making more money then than I made now. I think when I was in college at that job on that
Yeah,
factory, and I had no expenses, so I went all in. I bought the replica helmet, so like $200. We
yeah.
got all realistic size guns and stuff like that. All new. Like I bought like a vest. I bought all new costume and shit like that. We looked legit as fuck when we did the second one.
Yeah, I remember we were filming. I remember a group of ATVs were coming, and we just hid in the bush. And then they
Yeah.
like stopped, and then one of them saw us and got scared and just sped off because there was like there were six guys in army outfits just walking around town, But
At the time, we were a militia.
speaking of college, there, you spoke of going to film school. Um, how was your transition from going from grade 8 to high school? And then obviously high school to college, and has things worked out the way you thought it would have worked out, going from that high school to college to where you are now?
Mm. Well, I think my life is probably not definitely not what I envisioned it necessarily when I was younger, but I don't know if I really ever had a clear idea of like what I would look like in my 30s back when I was younger. But like the transitioning through the years, like for me, like obviously you can't tell in the podcast, but I'm a really tall guy. I'm like 6'7".
Yeah.
So transition for me from grade school to high school is really easy because like there was none of like the intimidation factor because I was already like the biggest guy in our grade school and stuff like that by a large portion. So when there was none of like that fear of like grade 9 initiation and all that
Oh
bullshit
yeah, yeah.
to high school because most people probably just thought I was like a transfer from another school and older. But I guess the college transition wasn't that difficult for me. I think like I kind of just went to college to go to college because I felt like that was the thing to do. I wasn't like super passionate about what I went to school for, but I remember looking forward to it. I saw my brother go away for school before me. I saw him have a great time, so I did look forward to college, and I think it was an easier transition. I think the hardest transition for me was getting out of that school pattern, like because you
Yeah.
spend your entire life like transitioning for the next school, and then you finish the college, and it's like, okay, start your life. And I think
Yeah.
that could be harder transition, if anything, because it's easier to get out of college and feel lost than it is when you have like that direct linear path that you're on.
Yeah, because I know like from grade 8 to grade 9, I remember they made us do this dumb shit on the computer, and it was like, what career path do you want to take? Do you remember
Oh
that?
yeah.
And yeah, and we would do it like once a day for like months, and I just kept on getting the same shit, yeah, a carpet cleaner, and I'm like, fuck.
God, what
I
the
was like,
fuck?
I guess I'm gonna be a carpet cleaner, but when we were
Fucking
going there, I remember we were picking our courses in grade 8. And I remember this girl came up to me and she's like, "Oh man, Chris, you're gonna struggle really hard in, school because you're very lazy." And she was just like saying all this shit to me, right? And I'm like, she's like, "You probably won't even graduate." And I'm like, "All right, whatever." And like I can admit, I was lazy in high school. I didn't do
yeah,
I did
both
I
were.
did
We all
I
were.
did
All
the
me and all of us and
yeah,
all of our friends were.
I did the basic needs I needed to the pass test and shit. But when it
Yeah.
came to like an exam, I would study like a motherfucker. I remember I was really into history, so I either wanted to go to school for, archaeology or anthropology. That's what I was gonna like go to college or university for. But when I was in, I had to take American history and a couple courses, but they were academic and I was all in applied. I remember that when I walked in there, yo, those kids were like, they were like shocked, and what it made it worse, I did the same shit I did in applied. So I would just go in the back of the class and I'd sleep on my book bag. And I remember one time in American history, there's a teacher and the kid was lying down on his backpack. Then one of the nerdy kids, and he was like, "Hey, get off your backpack and stop lying down. We're in class." And then the kid's like, "Well, Chris is doing it. Chris does it every day." And then I remember the teacher looked at him. He's like, "Well, that's Chris, and he can do what he wants." It's like, so, but I remember that same fucking kid. Like, I sat beside him during exams. The tables were all spread apart, and he's like, Chris, did you study?" And I was like, "No." Well, motherfucker, I studied like a motherfucker, yo. And
And how'd you do? How did you end up
oh
doing?
yeah, I passed.
There you
I
go.
passed.
Oh, yes.
My sleepy ass passed, yo. But
I remember you mentioned the history. I remember being in ancient Civ with you, and like me and you put in like the most pathetic of efforts in ancient Civ, and you
oh
were
yeah,
right into it. You would like all you would do when you were at home by yourself was watch fucking History Channel, and that's
yeah.
back before History Channel just played weird reality shows. They actually played history shows, and you knew like most of the material of the course before they ever taught it. And I remember doing the Jeopardy or whatever. That was like the exam prep.
Around the
And
world.
yeah, you were answering every question, and the teacher's just like, "What the hell? What is this, Abdul?" He's like, "What do you?" He's like, "What do you got? Like a 52 in this class? You're answering every damn question. What's going on?"
Yeah, that's the thing, because that's what I told him too. I'm like, "Well, sir, I'm not dumb. I'm just lazy, man. That's what it is." Yeah,
uh,
because he knew we were down to earth, so he stood me
yeah,
up and he's like, "Abdul, what grade do you have in this class?" And I'm like, "A 54." And he's like, "How the hell are you answering everything right?" It's just like, fuck.
yeah, yeah. I remember that's the one thing that I think a lot of teachers enjoyed about us is like we didn't really give a fuck. We didn't take it too serious, but we didn't take ourselves too serious either. Like they could poke fun of us too.
Yeah.
We that like the same teacher. I remember turning in something. And he's like, "God damn, for what the fuck is this?" He's like, "What is this, a mustard stain?"
Yeah, he was all right because I remember too. I'd be coming back from lunch break and I'd be doing some rated R shit. So I'd come back from lunch break and I'd be tired as a motherfucker. And I would just sleep right beside you. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember your fucking girl, and then your fucking ex would walk in too, like right after you. She's in the same class, so all fucking disheveled and shit. But then I heard rumors that there's much weirder shit going on in that class. You remember that rumor about there's that other couple
Oh
that was in
yes.
that class, and they were kind of like dirtbag kids. And I remember hearing the rumors that like in that class, that chick was like wanking off her fucking boyfriend and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, because
Jesus.
remember we always try to catch him, and we caught them one time when he's putting his finger in her pussy.
Oh my God. I fucking forgot. I repressed that shit.
Oh, yeah, but
Oh,
high school was all right for us. We pretty much went through the motions. But basically, when I was done with school, like I looked into all those courses I wanted to take, and it was like no way. I was like, "There's no way," because I'd have to go back and do a grade 13, and I was like, "There's no way I'm going back to high school." So I
yeah.
never went there, and I remember that's about when I got my license, because I got my license, I think, just after we graduated, because our friend Pete got his license. I remember I was walking with them because we were all just kind of lazy, so we didn't even consider getting it. And I remember
Yeah.
I was just walking with him. He's like, "Oh, I got my G1." I remember I looked at him like, "You got your G1?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh hell no, you can getting it before me, yo." So I went and I ended up
That's what
getting.
got you going. That's what
Yeah,
happened with me too. My sister went, and I'm like, well, fuck, I can't let my sister beat me.
yeah. So I ended up getting it that way. But wow, what a difference having a license make when you're a young, 16-year-old kid at the time. I remember I was just sitting there at home in the summertime right after high school. I'm like, I gotta get a fucking job. So I just went out, started applying around, and then I got my first job. I stayed there for, 3.5, 4 years. And what motivated me to get out of there, because I needed to. I remember the one supervisor was like, "Oh, Chris, you're gonna be like all these old people here. You're never gonna leave. You're just gonna amount to nothing." But she did it to motivate me because she knew
Yeah, that you
the way I was, right? So I'm like, "Oh yeah, motherfucker." So I ended up getting out of there like 2 weeks after that. Then I stayed then I stayed at my other job for 8 years, and then I left when my wife got pregnant. And then I'm at the job I am now, making, triple my wage that I was making there. So it's like sometimes it just works out crazy, because if I would have went to school, like, who knows where I would have been. I was gonna go out east or west too, to the oil rigs. Like I was gonna go out with one of our buddies, but I ended up not doing that. So who knows? It's kind of
yeah,
crazy to think about, like, when you actually plan your life. That's some of the problem with a lot of the kids, I find in the States. Their already life is already planned before they get to high school, and when they don't make it to that university they want to, or they don't go the way it's supposed to go, it really falls downhill for a lot of them. But like, us, we just kind of go with the flow motion. Not saying that's the right thing to do, but
yeah,
sometimes it pans out the way it's supposed to pan out, right?
yeah. You ever know? When I think about it too, me and you, it's almost like in a way we're kind of reflections of our fathers and our work history. Like we're both grew up with dads that were like just like blue collar factory worker kind of guys, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's been all the work that both of us have pursued too, right? Like,
Yeah. But like now I'm happy now I'm not in a factory setting. I'm more in like, I don't want to say like waste management. It's more like water recycling. So it's like construction water recycling. So it's a way different thing, that I do. But like, it's kind of crazy. Like saying, like I said, my wife, when she got pregnant, here in Canada, in Ontario, like I know it's different in the States. We actually can share a full year off work. So I ended up taking 3 months
right?
off, and she got her 3 months parental plus the 9 extra months. So I was home
Yeah,
with her for the 3 months. So my kids actually saved my life, because like when I was at my old work, man, I was just like thinking, like, every day I'd go into work and everyone would be like, "Yo, Chris, how you doing?" Whatever. And in my head, I would just have to tell them. I would just tell them all the time, like, "Oh, I'm good, man. We're almost done." And they're like, "Dude, the buzzer hasn't went off. We haven't even started yet." I'm like, "Yeah, man, we're almost done." Like I just keep saying that every morning. They ask me to say, like, "How you doing, Chris?" I'm like, "I'm almost done, man. We're almost done." because if I would have thought about the fact that the buzzer hasn't rang yet, I would have went like insane. And like when my kids were born, I took the 3 months. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna do something. I gotta get something different. So she's like, obviously, I love photography. Obviously, I haven't
Yeah.
done it in a little while because I'm so busy. But like, I was like, I'm gonna go there part time. I'm gonna learn how to do the portrait. I'm gonna learn how to do wedding, whatever, whatever, and I'll start my own business. And I'll go on from there. And then I just started having enjoying my family. So I was like, I that all went out the window. And then I was supposed to go back in January, and it was December, and my wife was like, um, "Are you going back to your job? Like, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh shit, I ain't going back there." So I ended up just I went on Indeed and I started just fucking applying around, and this job came up, and I'm like, there's no way in fuck I'm gonna get this job. You need to actually have some, you know, credentials to get this job. But I ended
Right.
up, like I said before, like I killed the interview, and then they called me and I was like, yeah, I had 5 weeks holiday, I had all this time at my work, and I was like, you know what? I haven't took a chance yet in my life. It's time to take a chance. And man, like I couldn't imagine me going back to the place I used to work and just coming home with my
No.
family, like unhappy. Like I know for anyone out there that has a family, I know, you're probably on your way to doing that at some point. It really puts in like a perspective of how much our parents did for us as a kid. I think, we kind of overlook how much our parents do for us and what they did for us, even what they still do for us now, right? Like
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy, and then it makes you sad at the same time because like growing up, you don't realize you're watching your parents also grow up when they're watching you grow up, and it's like as the other day I was looking at this picture, like I went on a family trip with my dad, and I'm like, holy fuck, man, like my dad's getting old now. And it makes you
Yeah.
sad it makes you really sad when you think about it because it's like, fuck, man, like they do so much things for us growing up and like what we do. So like I know when you have your family and stuff like that, you're gonna realize like, holy fuck, man, like my mom and my dad, they really put in a lot of effort, right? So it's really crazy when you become a father, man.
Yeah, like I had the exact same thought as you the other day too with my parents. Like I saw a memory on Facebook come up with my dad just 10 years ago, and he looked
Yeah,
significantly younger, and I'm like, wow, like he doesn't look like my dad anymore. He looks like somebody's grandpa. Like
yeah. Well,
no offense, dad.
yeah, but it's crazy because like I was thinking about it the other day. It's like it's 2023. Like we talk about, you know, how time flies. Like I was just watching this like Brock Lesnar return, and it's like 2011. I'm like, how the fuck has
I
it
know,
been? How? How did
dude.
how the Rock and Cena fight over a decade ago?
I
Like I'm just
know
like,
some stuff
it,
like that freaks me out, man.
yeah,
Like
it's like
I
it
still
doesn't make
remember
sense.
that Lesnar returning. I remember texting you because you watched that Raw right after WrestleMania. You were watching it, and I had to work at the Chrysler plant, and I was
Yeah.
walking through the tunnel, and you were texting me. And you were texting me first. You were texting me A Train returned and Brock Lesnar.
Oh yeah, because
Lord Tensai,
he came as
Lord
10 times.
Tensai.
Oh my god. But like when you really think about it, it's like fuck, man. Like it's crazy just how time just once the problem is like it's not that you're not ready to grow up, it's just growing up the part where people say it sucks, it's because there's just no time anymore.
Yeah,
And like 24 hours, I know for a lot of people they're like, oh, that's way more than enough time. But for some people, it just isn't. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like if you have kids, it's really like difficult for a 20-hour. Like I don't know people like, oh, Chris, you can go to the gym. You got time? I'm like, no, I don't.
Yeah,
Motherfucker,
when?
motherfucker, I work 13, 14-hour shifts, and then I gotta come home. I have an hour commute both ways, work that. Then in the morning I gotta deal with my kids, and then at night I gotta deal with my like I don't have time to go to gym and stuff like that. So it's just when you grow up, you just find there's no time anymore, and then your precious time is really on the weekend. That's
Yeah,
like
you live for
if
the
you're
weekends.
Yeah, if you work your Monday to Friday, you're just like, oh, the only time I have is 2 days with my family or my friends or my wife or whatever have you, and it's like it just sometimes doesn't feel like enough.
Would you cut off your own right hand to be able to go back to a time when you were in grade two jerking off in the computer room?
No, I wouldn't cut off my right hand because I use it.
Yeah, what did you jerk off?
It'd have to be my left
Right
hand,
hand one time. I broke my right hand in high school football and I became a switch-handed batter. And I don't play baseball, so
Yeah, like fuck. I learned some like it's funny with that grade two shit because in grade four when we started learning sex ed, I was like, yo, I'm gonna be a pro at this shit. I already know everything. And I remember when they they showed me that diagram with a female fucking, you know,
you're like, what? There's three. How many holes? What?
it looked like a T or shit. I was like, what the hell is this thing? And then when you first start fucking doing it, you're kind of like you're holding your thing and you're like, okay, where am I supposed to stick this thing? And you kind of just fucking
I had a different experience. My first time, like it went in pretty smooth and everything. There's no working at it or nothing. So that misled me for the times to come after with other
yeah.
girls. Where I'm like, wait, what? Why isn't this working?
Yeah, but also
Luckily,
the girl
that at that age, you have a
also
long time period to try to work it in. You have a lot of time.
also the girl you slept with was back then she was trying to get into everyone's name in the alphabet.
That's what she said. I don't think she got
Yeah.
there. I think she got 2 letters probably.
She must have got like two or three or something like that.
Yeah, she.
Because
Yeah, she went on to like.
I remember the first time I got some was with my classic green pants, my green and one pants.
Oh, your green and one pants. Oh my god, yes.
And
You rocked those for years.
I remember I came to your door and we were going. I was like, "Yo, let's go to Tim Hortons." And you're like, "Okay." It was must have been like 10 or 11 at night. And then I just put my fingers to your face. I'm like, "Smell this."
Oh.
I remember you did the same reaction. You're like, "What the fuck is that?" Oh, yo.
You remember you ran into me after my first time. Remember, I was just walking around. I was just walking behind the high school, just
Hold on,
going
let me
for a
tell the
walk, trying to
story.
collect my
Let me tell the
thoughts.
let me tell the story because when that happened, I don't know how we got to this part in the podcast, but hopefully my wife doesn't watch it. But anyways, what happened was after you did your thing, um, me and my ex went around to the back of the school, and we
Oh
were,
my god, that's
and I can honestly say my wiener was out of my pants, and then all of a sudden I see your sad ass walking
oh
around.
my god.
So I had to put that thing back in my pants, and then we were like, "Damn, what's wrong?" And you wouldn't tell us what happened. You were just like completely shut down. But
Were you
yeah,
not in my house when it? Were you not? Because like a bunch of our friends were downstairs when it happened. You weren't downstairs.
no, I was downstairs, but after we all left, after remember,
Right, right.
and then after we left, we went to the school and we were doing our thing out in the back, and then your sad ass started walking around fucking town, and you wouldn't
I
tell us what
was
happened. You
I
wouldn't tell
was
us
like
what
a little
happened for like months,
I
yo.
was like a shamed little schoolgirl. I'm like, oh my god, I gave up my innocence to that big Irish bitch.
Oh no. Because I remember like some people's parents, like there's a difference. Like our parents are pretty like easy going, right? So I remember like I come home from high school, and my mom be like, go clean up all that stuff on the floor in your room." I'm like, "What are you talking about? What stuff?" She's like, all
Oh,
that shit you have, all the shit you have on your floor." And I went up there, and they were just there wasn't condoms, but there was just wrappers all over the place. And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'll clean that up." So like,
left it for your mom to clean up. Like, mom will get it.
no, like I'm not even thinking about it because well, like I would just fucking rip that thing out and just throw the wrapper where the fuck it went, right? And then
Oh Jesus. Yeah, we
no,
actually got pretty lucky with that. Like our parents kind of gave us free roam on that kind of shit.
yeah, we got We did some fucking dumb shit, yo.
There was no keep the door open for us when we had our
Yeah.
girlfriends open.
Because I remember like even when they were they were over, my mom and dad would be like so respectful, and they would knock on my bedroom door and be like, Chris, dinner's ready when you're.
Quickly tuck it in your waistband.
No, I'd still be doing it. I'd be like, yeah, the like dinner's ready when when you guys want it, and I'd be like, yeah, we'll be down soon. And then
You come
we'd come down, and obviously I'd be all right, but she'd be putting her hair in the bun
with a
and shit.
shovel. You come down, you're covered in sweat. You just grab a glass of water.
I will say one more story because I don't want to get too much into that shit, but I remember one of our good friends, his name's Kyle. He was walking home with you guys, and he ended up getting jumped.
Oh my god, yes,
So what
yeah.
happened was, I'll let you explain that if you want to, but what happened was they sent one of you guys sent me a text message, and I was practicing missionary press at the time. I was getting my workout going on, a little missionary press, and my I seen my phone went off, and it was like, "Oh, Kyle just got dumped. You got to come here quick." And I remember I'm like, "I Kyle didn't get jumped, man. You guys trying to get me out of the house that bad, you know?" So I
Look
kept
at the
on,
picture.
yeah, and then I kept on. I was in the middle of my thing, and then I got a picture. Then I looked at him like, "Oh shit, Kyle got jumped. We got to go."
Yeah,
So
dude, that you had a shiner, like you had a nasty shiner.
all I remember, all he said to that kid was fucking. They were making
Oh
out in the
boy.
hallway. Yeah, they were like kissing in the hallway, and he's like, "Atta boy." And then like
Yeah,
for some reason, those kids like blew up, and they ended
those
up attacking him outside.
those were the sketchiest like dirtbag kids that are high school. And Kyle just milked off, said the wrong thing to the wrong group of kids. And yeah, they had no problem jumping us after, and they had no intention of even jumping all of us. Like they, and like when I say jump, like they came in as a group. A bunch of guys didn't jump in on Kyle, but we were walking, and they came up, snuck up on behind us. The kids suckered Kyle to start.
Yeah,
So it happened so fast. Like we're just walking there. All of a sudden, it's just like Kyle's kids got Kyle he's got Kyle like kind of like turtled and like jerseyed like
yeah,
hockey, fucking punching Kyle, and Kyle's just turtling up, right? And
yeah. Of
yeah, he
course.
suckered him to start off, so it wasn't even like a fair like fight or anything. And but I see other guys, so I didn't have time to realize like there wasn't other people going after Kyle. So I immediately jump in, grab the kid, try to pull him off. And then I don't realize somebody else is behind me, grabs me, fucking punches me in the eye. Not realizing this entire time that our other buddy, who's a fairly big guy, over 6 foot, like decent sized guy, is fucking standing there with our girlfriends watching this, letting it happen, not trying to do nothing. And yeah, eventually I get Kyle out of there, and but he's got busted up pretty good. But yeah, I just said the wrong thing to the wrong guy, and I think he kind of learned his lesson because Kyle's not nearly as mouthy
Because
today as back then. He was always very mouthy, and
I remember too, like it was revenge time, and Dave and I had planned a crazy revenge to break the kid's knees with a baseball bat. Like that's the kind of shit we're on. Like we don't seem like those kind of guys, but we were on some crazy shit.
we
But like,
ever were those kind of guys. Like we're the kind of like we could find our way into like a scrap or something like that. But I think we're kidding ourselves to think that we were
yeah,
gonna like retaliate against those kids. At the end of the day,
no,
those
that's
are the
what.
kids, and the kids are like carrying knives and shit. And we were the kind of kids that like our parents loved us.
Yeah, the issue is that why we never did it because we knew if we retaliated, it would have never ended. It would have
Yeah,
been an
it would have got
ongoing,
worse.
ongoing thing, and like it was an ongoing thing. Like supposedly those kids wanted to fight, like even me, and I wasn't even there. I had nothing.
Yeah,
I had no part of what happened or anything. But yeah, that's another funny story, yo. It's just high school. Like I'll say openly because I don't like to like talk bad about people, but we were loved a lot by the preppier kids, but those kind of come to school. Like I don't understand this. You come to school just to skip school to hang out at school. Those kids, didn't
Yeah,
really
not
weren't
like
really
us.
fond
We
of
came to school to meet up to skip school somewhere else.
it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? It sucks. None of us were driving at that time. We were kind of driving out when we
I
were finished
know,
school.
eh?
We would have
We would
never
just go
been here.
to house to whoever's parents weren't home. Like you both, like both your parents worked, both Dre's parents worked, so that was always the two places. Like,
It was at once two moments when we would walk into school and the national anthem would play. Then right after you'd be like, "Yo, Chris, you want to skip?" And I'd be like, "All right, man."
I remember my dad like trying to sleep in, trying to skip first period. My dad busted my ass so much to get me out of bed to go to school, and it was raining. And he's like, "I'll fucking drive you. I'll fucking drive you. You're going to class." And he drives me. He's giving me a bitch me the whole time. I literally walk in the front door, see you. We walk out the back door.
Yeah, we
That's what it was
remember
all the time.
we'd just go to my house and try to watch a movie, and then we'd just fall asleep on the
Yeah.
couch. Yeah.
Oh my god.
I remember
So
I
many times.
skipped so much. My dad would be like, why'd you miss third, fourth, and fifth?" And I'd be like, "I
Yeah.
didn't want to go." And he would just be like, "Oh, okay." Like, he's
We'd
like,
go to like first period gym, then take an early lunch, go to Jerry's house, fucking beat the shit out of each other at Jerry's house, and then not go back to school at all. The shit that we would do at his house at lunch, like locking people out on his fucking porch and shooting them with BB guns and water balloons and shit like that. Or like those, like that giant fucking duct tape ball that we'd throw at each other in the
"Oh, that
whips that
thing
he had
hurt."
made the
Oh,
drumstick.
so tell everyone about there about. I know a lot of girls like to go, "Oh, what do guys do at sleepover?" And like, I'll break our secret right now. Guys like to talk about girls. We watch porn, and then we go play Nicky Nine Doors.
Oh my
Tell
god, we so much Nicky Nine
so
Doors.
tell the people out there our classic Nicky Niners, because I know I got the one story here when we nickied this guy's house and he was insane. So we've hit him a few times. And I guess he
Yeah,
was just at his boiling
waiting
point.
for us
So
probably.
this was like some Home Alone shit. So we nickied his house and this man came out in his boxer shorts in the middle of the winter. So about back then it was like -22
Yeah.
winter. This man's chasing us down. So we on the street, there's a back path that goes to a pond, and we didn't know the whole dip down, the whole pavement, all the way down is complete ice. So we're running. There's about 8 of us. We get to this path. We all slip, fall on our ass all the way down the fucking pathway. This man's in his boxers, falls, slips on his ass, dick hanging out, sliding down, sliding down the ice in the snowbank. We take off towards the main road on the path. He's following us. Then I we hear him go, "I'm gonna get you." This motherfucker gets in his van, starts chasing us around town. We finally lose him after like I swear we were going through everywhere, people's backyards and shit. And
With the
then
Sobeys at one point, and he came in Sobeys. Remember? Did we see him go in Sobeys? He's like,
yeah, yeah. So what happened was he went into Sobeys. So we took the behind Sobeys is another kind of forest trails. So we went
and
there.
we watched from there, right?
Yeah, and then we ended up going there, going all the way around to a new subdivision. Then we're walking up the sidewalk and we're laughing, talking about it. And all of a sudden, a van pulls up, lights
Oh
are behind
god,
us, and we all
scattergun.
we all stop. We turn around and it's one of our buddies' mom. Calvin,
Oh
why are you
right,
doing
oh right.
that?
See, I wasn't with you because I was in a group that got split up from you guys. I think.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, because
Okay.
we got split up during the while Buddy was chasing us. So I was with
Oh,
somebody,
yes, you did.
two other people. I can't remember who it was. When you guys got picked up, we didn't know where you guys were.
Oh shit! Yeah, so that
Yeah.
must have been our group then, because we were walking. All of a sudden, this van pulls up behind us, and it was like telling you, it was like some movie shit when your heart just stops, and then the lights of the van, and then all of a sudden we turn around, the window goes down. Calvin, you didn't call me. I don't know where you were.
See, dude, those were the years. Like we always talk, we always reminisce when we hang out. Like usually about like the years of like in high school, later high school, where it was more that smaller group, tighter group of us, where we would walk, we always say boys walk around town and stuff like that. But those early years where like it wasn't like we were as tight of a group, but there was way more of us. And we'd like
Yeah.
fucking be strolling around town all night long. There was like fucking like 20, 30 of us some nights
Yeah, yeah,
doing
yeah.
whatever the fuck, causing trouble. Like,
Yeah, because we
gee,
even did that. We even did that
wild.
guy's house the week after. I remember we did his house, and he was ready. He was waiting
Yeah, oh
because
yeah.
he came out with like a bat or something. I remember we all split up again, and then a couple of our buddies ran through his backyard or something, and they had to hop the fence. I remember his dog ended up biting someone in the ankle and shit with
He
it
wrapped
that
up
out
his
there.
ankle or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, him or was it him
That
or
was
the dog?
Jerv and his buddies went back and did it without
Oh,
us.
okay,
Because he
yeah,
had told his other buddies, like, dude, this guy's fucking crazy. We got to do this. And they grabbed his butt. Fuck, I can't remember the dude's name, but yeah, one of Jerv's other buddies, they grabbed his fucking ankle, scratched his ankle.
yeah. They almost got him off the fence, man.
Oh my God. Can you imagine
Those
how
are the,
crazy you have to be? Like, I would never, like, someone ringing my doorbell, I'm going to chase. Like, no
yeah.
fucking way. You have to do a lot more to me to make you
What like
chase you.
you talk about us being in a giant gang? Like I remember where I lived, like my parents live is right off the main road. So the main road used to have a giant ditch there. And does it still has a sidewalk behind my parents' house, does it?
Yeah, sidewalk's still there, I think.
Okay,
Or
yeah.
what's it
So
become of
before
it? Yeah.
yeah, because there was a ditch there. So there would be about this again when I was in grade like 4 and we had all the older kids, so it was like grade 4 to grade 8. And we'd be hiding out in the ditch at like 8 p.m. in the wintertime, throwing snowballs at cars coming down the main road. And I remember this one time this guy came out and actually caught one of us. Oh buddy, did we ever beat his ass. Even though
Oh,
we're
really?
young,
Hey, even when you're
yeah,
that young?
even though we're young, there's like 15 of us. Yo, we beat
Yeah,
his ass
there's so
so
many.
bad, yo. This guy ran in his car. But like now when you get older and you start driving, you're like, man,
That's horrible.
I would hate for a young kid to throw a snowball at me during a winter
Yeah.
storm, right? You don't
Kids can't
realize
have
that.
any fun anymore, though. Like everywhere,
Yeah.
there's cameras. Like if we played Nicky Nine Doors, like now, if we were kids now, like you just get busted right away. Everybody's got a camera.
Oh
Like
yeah. I can only imagine like
you'd be on like the community chats page, like these kids ringing my doorbell last night, and then your parents be
yeah.
giving you a chat. And,
Yeah, like even I shouldn't say this, but like fuck man, like me and you know, our buddy Jervay too, we'd be doing the do anywhere in public and like imagine we did that
yeah,
now with
yeah,
the
true.
cameras. Like I remember just being at the park and just fucking,
Yeah, just
you know,
bashing at the park. Yeah,
yeah,
our
it's just
girlfriends were
great.
pretty down for whatever.
Can I tell this one story?
Remember the story about Jeremy
Hopefully your girl
crying?
don't watch this show, but I remember we
Jeremy
went
getting
to
into a fight with this. Is that the one you're talking?
yeah, so we went to the beach because one of our buddies was fighting with his girlfriend. So
Damn.
he's
That's like
sitting
nice
there,
at the beach back when you're a kid. You
yeah,
fight with your girlfriend at the beach. That's a good setting for it.
and then he's there crying with them on the bleachers because she's breaking up with him. So I'm just standing there with my ex watching it and laughing, and you were standing there with your ex at the time laughing, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden I turn around, all I see is your ass on top of her.
For like
you
two
give her
seconds.
you gave her a couple three pumps, pulled out,
Yeah.
spunked in the grass, and I was I'm like, what the fuck happened?
I was literally like, you were like, I'm gonna go see if he's all right or something like that. And you like, or see where they are, so because they were kind of around a corner almost. So
Yeah.
you just walked like maybe 40 yards ahead to check it out, and then I took that as an opportunity. I'm like, oh, they're gone for a second.
Oh,
Oh god.
yeah.
Yeah, I would also when I was younger, I'd also be down to poop anywhere. I'd also that park bench classic. I thought it was hilarious just take a dump on that park bench too, down by the beach.
I felt bad for that one group. I remember when you did that, and then you obviously we had no toilet paper, so you had to just jump in the lake to wipe your ass. But do you
I
remember
had
when there was
paper and you
there
threw it in
were?
the lake.
Do you remember when we went there? It was late because we used to be out late. Like it was probably 12 or 1, and there was the two guys and the one girl, and they were like skinny dipping,
Oh
and our
yeah.
and our buddy went and stole the guy's keys from his car.
All their clothes, didn't he?
No, he stole their keys.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
And then I remember we were watching from the far bush all the way at the end, and the guy was like, "Where's my keys? Where's my keys?" Because we
What
because
assholes.
we told him to just go steal the clothes,
And he came back with the keys.
and he came back with the guy's car keys, and then he
And it's
threw them
like,
in the water. It's like,
oh
"This clown." Oh, it's nothing worse than doing that or losing your phone, yo. It's one of the two.
yeah. Dude, we did a
Yo.
lot of shit like that just to be assholes. Like not like I remember like I remember egging houses and like
Oh,
just like that wasn't enough. So I'm like I had to find something else to do. And I just had like an egg in my hand and I just walk up to some guy's spoiler and just like crack it on the spoiler like to find
yeah.
him.
I'll bring up this one egg in the house. Remember, again, this guy chased us, and he
Yo,
caught us,
yeah.
but we got it was one of these days we were just walking. We didn't expect our buddy to throw the egg. All he hears a boom on the back
Yeah.
window. This guy runs, hops the fence. We run, then all of a sudden he pulls up in his truck,
His truck with his
catches us, but
buddy.
he didn't know it was us, and I had a backpack on. He's like, "Kid, what's in your fucking backpack? What's in your backpack?" And I'm like, "Nothing." He's like, "Well, what's in your backpack, man? You got eggs in there?" So I opened it, and thank God I had my
The
Xbox in there.
Xbox. Yeah,
Yeah,
this
and I
is
was
a
like, "Oh,
UFC
dude."
night. We were playing UFC
Yeah,
Undisputed.
yeah. And I was like, "Dude, it's just my Xbox." He's like, "Oh yeah. Well, did you guys see kids running? They just egged my house." And I was like, "Nah, man, I didn't see anybody." But man, good times,
Uh,
man. Good, like
yeah,
you look
Jesus.
at that now, and then you go, like you said, like these kids can do these things. It's just harder now. But you shouldn't.
Yeah.
You really shouldn't be doing these things. But like, it's
I'm not
unharmed.
encouraging it, but
No, but like ringing someone's doorbell and running
pretty
away.
innocent fun.
Like
Like,
I know a lot of girls. Remember, we used to like you said, we had groups of 30. They'd be like, "Why are you guys doing that? That's like so lame." And we're like, "No, it's amazing." It's like,
rush of somebody chasing us, basically, and
yeah,
like it was. In the end of the day, it was low repercussions. Like there was
yeah.
no like time committed, really.
It's basically the equivalent of back in the day with our dads lighting, bags of shit on fire on people's doorsteps and fucking ringing
Yeah.
the door. Right? It's basically the equivalent, but like, man, just like think
I used to
about
get
all the
hyped for those
time.
nights. I used to be at school looking forward to those Friday nights and stuff like that. Like thinking about it the way like when you get older you think about like if there's like a party or something that weekend.
Yeah,
Like I remember being hyped like, oh man, it's gonna be fucking awesome. We're gonna get so many houses.
yeah. Because on the Friday, everyone would be like, "Yo, who's coming out? Who's coming out?" And then when everyone showed up together, because we all lived in the same town, but there was different subdivisions. There was like Crossroads. There was this one. There was that one. So all the Crossroads kids would come, and then your side kids would come, and then
Yeah.
Gervais side kids would come, and all of a sudden, there's a gang of 20, 30 of us walking around the street just acting the fool, right?
Yeah, well, there's nothing else to do in town other than just stroll around and chill and stuff. So like we would just run into other groups of kids and stuff like that. That's what everybody was doing, right? Also,
Yeah.
like we had like some like funny conflicts with other kids based on that kind of stuff too, just like running into them and shit like that.
Oh yeah, we had a good time. But there's one thing though I wanted to ask you. I always wanted to ask because when I first met you, and I'm trying to think this. Like I knew you were in. At one point, you were in that hip hop. Then you got into like classic rock.
Well,
'Cause
classic rock actually first probably, but
Okay, okay. So this is what I remember because our buddy Sean, he used to live on my street, and you guys were close. And you
yeah,
guys were classic rock. So I remember this because later on in like after high school, you started to like this band, but I think you got introduced to it more and you started really listening to it and you liked them. But I remember you were like, you and Sean were walking and you're like, we were talking and then you guys were like, "Oh, what music does your brother listen to or whatever?" And I'm like, "Oh, he's listening to I don't know, he listens to Linkin Park and Rise Against." And you and Sean were like, "Rise Against? That's the fucking whatever." You guys are making fun of them,
Shit
and
on
then
it.
yeah, then like years later, I remember you started listening to them, and I'm like, "Dude, you
Yeah,
used to shit
yeah.
on this, you used to shit on this," and you're like, but like, what was that transition like to going from because you were just really full classic rock, I feel
In
like
hip hop, in hip hop.
yeah, in elementary school, and then
I
some
actually got to a point where I didn't really. I didn't get into any alternative music because I was only being exposed to things that I was exposed through, like mostly through the radio, through people I knew and stuff like that. So
through
like I got to
media,
a point
right?
with music in late grade school where I checked out. I was so obsessed with music growing up. I got into classic rock, then I got into like classic hip hop. And that's all I listened to. And I got to a point where like our friend Kyle, his taste was evolving. He was listening to more like modern stuff and indie rock and stuff like that. And didn't have an open mind to it at all. Like he would try to
Yeah,
get me to listen to it, I would shut him down constantly. I'm not interested in any of that shit. And then I literally started to listen to music almost as like a novelty. Like I would listen to like old dirty bastard more than anybody. Like I got or like I'd have songs that were like almost like comedy songs. Like do you remember the like South Park songs like Now You're a
yeah,
Man and stuff like that
yeah,
from
oh
Orange
yeah,
Cosmo? Like that's what I got. I basically gave up on music. And then years later I just randomly got an open mind, got into like the Smiths and stuff like that. And then like Kyle took me out to some indie shows and then I just basically became open minded to any style of music.
yeah. Because I finally remember you and Sean just like ragging on my brother, like, "Oh, you listen to Linkin Park and Rise Against and Papa Roach," and you were just
I'm still not a Linkin Park fan, not gonna lie.
yeah. Oh, I know that, but like you were just like ragging on them, and I was like, "Fuck." I was like, I didn't mind Papa Roach because I remember we used to go to the Capilano's house and we used to fucking have little mosh pits and it'd be like eight of us and we would just listen to Last Resort and
Last resort.
we start throwing down the Last Resort but the music taste but like back then what we used to also go to Wild Wing a lot. But let me ask you something
Yes.
here. I'm gonna throw a question at you here, a few questions here. Let's see. It's kind of would you rather shepherd's pie or lasagna?
Not from Wild Thing in Alcona. You're
No,
specifically
no, I'm
saying.
just talking about in general.
Ooh, I'm not actually a big fan of either, to be honest. I would go shepherd's pie, I guess. Wait, no, wait. Does the lasagna have spinach in it?
Whatever you want it, man.
Okay,
However you want.
lasagna. I'll take lasagna if there's no spinach.
Okay, tacos or burgers?
Burgers.
You sick bastard.
I love
You-
tacos. Burgers is
Okay,
like that food.
okay, this one I want you to think about it. If you could choose one artist to sing at your wedding, who would it be? But you got to keep in mind your wife has also got to enjoy
Approve
it.
of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know if you've ever heard of it. There's a band that's been around like the last like 15 years. They're called the National. It's
No,
like,
maybe not. I haven't heard of them, but they're good.
you know, yeah, it's like alternative rock kind of thing, but it's like pretty like hard to me explain. But well, at one point, like it's very popular with the ladies too. It's very like emotional and driven rock, and I feel like it could kind of work in a wedding, maybe a little bit too depressing. I used to say in college that it was hipster girl panty remover.
So that's how you caught her, eh? You put on some of that when you're driving her around.
Not gonna lie, I actually used that on her, and it worked.
Oh
I
my!
remember telling the guy at Honda, like, dude, the National, man. Once you get her in the car, put the National on.
No, you know what you did. This is how you got her, and I know how you got her. You gave her the seven rules of Chris Abdul, yo.
Yes, the seven rules of Chris. More legendary than the Jordan rules is the seven
Yeah,
rules of Duo.
it
How
sucks
to get
that
a
like
girl, the seven rules of Chris Abdul.
it sucks that I don't remember it because we were just having
There's
such a
like
good time.
14 7 rules.
But what happened was we were just having such a good time, and I was just
Yeah,
listing off these ways to get girls, and they would just, and all of it kind of made sense. It was just kind of funny, and it just fucking.
God, I wish we wrote that shit down. I wish we wrote down a lot of things, man.
Can I finally admit to something on here? I guess we can. I'm 30, right?
Sure.
But I know for anyone out there during high school, uh, me and my ex would break up all the time, and Dan would actually save our relationship from making fake Facebook girlfriends for me.
You really have to admit to this. I think anybody that had any brains at all knew that they were fake. I think. Like I remember that
Not
one
her.
girl in school was like, "Dude, that shit is the fakest thing I ever seen."
Not her, yo. She's like,
That, that was amazing. I was it my idea or your idea? My idea.
it was yours. I think it was yours.
That was our wheeling her back in. We're like, oh well, she's gonna be jealous if you get a new cute girlfriend. So let's make up one.
That's what like we did it like twice and it worked twice, yo. It's fucking crazy,
Two
man.
fake Facebook accounts. She's like messaging and sending messages, putting on your wall. I ended up getting this fucking me the whole time. Oh man, I was just horrible on Facebook in high school. Like it
you
was.
were the
I was
kid.
a bad combination. It was the wild, wild west back then on social media. You
You were the
did a lot of
Facebook
horrible
king back
shit.
there, yo. There's so
Yeah,
many kids. There's so many kids that wanted to kill you, but they never knew who was behind the computer. Like it would be like
Jacob Marley.
it's like some movie shit, yo.
It was always ghosts from A Christmas Carol. Jacob
Yeah,
Marley.
yeah.
Yeah, my online aliases. Jesus.
God. Do you
You ever feel
so what do you
bad for like
obviously?
some of the
Oh,
stuff
go
that
ahead.
do you ever randomly think about some of the things that we like said to people in high school? Like I just like randomly have thoughts about like I remember there's one kid and he was balding before everybody else in high school. And like and I can't remember who had the longest time. I think it was Gervais. And just to be an asshole, like Dave's just standing there, Dave's like, is it just me or is the air awful thin up here? I feel like it's really thinning out over here. Things are getting awfully thin over here. Like it was just so many things like that we would do. And it's just like horrible. That could ruin that kid's like month. And we just didn't get a
Hon-
laugh in the moment.
Honestly, like I don't know in high school if I was like overly like that. Was I?
I mean, no, you weren't as bad as like I think like me and Jerv were two of the worst ones. I
Yeah,
think. Do
like
you remember
I
us
know.
walking home and Jerv yelling at that girl, and he's like, "Shake that fat ass!" And they turned around like that. Those guys can't be yelling at us. And Jerv
Yeah,
literally, yeah, you that big ass.
and it's funny because like we bring it up to him all the time. We're like, "Yo, I bet that girl's skinny now. Look at your fat ass." You know, like, you
She's gonna
remember that?
give the dream. No, you shake that big ass.
Yeah. Do you remember the time that really changed my life too? And throughout high school, I was just a gym maniac. For like what 5 to at least 7 years, I was a gym maniac.
Yeah,
After I remember we were at the beach and we're just sitting on the dock, and you were sitting beside me. I looked down. I'm like, man, I got titties. Yeah,
I have that effect on people when people stand beside me. They're like, I don't look pretty.
yeah. Because I looked down, and you're like, no, you don't. And then I was like, I'm gonna go to the gym, and then that was it. The next day, I was at the gym, and like I was at the gym from what grade 10 to fuck when I was like till I was like 23, like just
Yeah,
craziness, man. Like my
they got pretty
routine,
big, and
my like when I started going before I went to the gym, I was like 130, and then I ended up getting to 165. So I was kind of happy with that. Like it's not a big, huge transition because when you think about it, but from just being fully natural and all I did was just kind of drink protein and eat a lot of food. That's actually pretty good, man.
yeah, you got pretty solid. I remember your chest got pretty fucking big.
Yeah, and like my routine at that point, because we were out of high school at one point, so I'd go to the gym 6:37 in the morning. The lady behind the desk would be like, "I'm just gonna keep putting you in as a high school student, so I'd only have to pay $5 to get in." So I'd pay $5 to get in. So from 6:30 to 7, I'd work out until about noon, almost noon. Like it was my gym routine was like insanely crazy. And I know I'd work out till about 10, I'd say, then I'd shower. I'd come home, I'd make my king's breakfast, I'd call it. So it'd be hot dogs and eggs, some
Oh,
kind of
nice.
some kind of meat. I'd drink my second protein shake, and then I'd have peanut butter toast or like something, right? So I'd eat that, and
Perfect. How?
then I'd go pick up my ex at the time. Then we'd go back to my house, rail her, and then go out. Then go out. That was my routine for like 2 years. That's what, like that was like my routine for 2 years, man.
It's
That
tough maintaining that gym schedule. I remember when I was working on the assembly line at Honda. There was a guy I used to go with. I went every day before the shift, before or after the shift, every single
oh, I
day. For
remember. I remember that you were gonna do steroids, weren't you?
he was trying to talk me into it. Yeah,
Yeah.
he had done it. He had got really big, and I remember thinking like I was like 7 months in, and like I just wasn't getting results I wanted for. And I'm like I was felt like I was super committed. I was changed my diet and everything. And I'm like, yo, if I'm gonna be this committed, like I want to get some results. And I remember considering it. I'm really glad I didn't.
Yeah, I remember that. You know what's funny too? Like we were just talking about like I don't know how this just came up, but like we're talking about your future wife. Like this is how much I don't even know her. Like I didn't even know she was a dancer.
Oh yeah,
I just-
dance.
yeah, because I just like try to support her, right? So I was just doing her. She had some dance Instagram thing. I'm like, I didn't know this girl can dance. I had no idea, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like me and you were so familiar with each other growing up and stuff, but like obviously things did get a little bit more distant over the years and stuff like that. Neither of us are as familiar with each other's like significant others and stuff. But
No, like I
I
remember
like
when
the
you.
podcast too is a good way for us to like rekindle a lot of old memories and stuff like that.
That's
Like,
like the one kind of things that I kind of regret. Like, there's obviously a few regrets I have growing up. Is there any regrets you have that's not related to like school or life choices?
yeah, I definitely think that I let a lot of friendships like over my 20s get distant. Like I mentioned, like not just you, but like all the guys. Like I never thought 10 years ago that like we would have hung out so infrequently over the last 10 years. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
God, once or twice a year, not even. Fuck.
yeah, like David bought that house. I remember when Dave bought that house, and
Oh
I
yeah,
was
I
like,
thought it
"Oh,
was
we're probably
party
gonna be hanging out
season.
there all the time," and like we
Yeah,
never hung out there ever.
no, it's
And
kind of crazy.
yeah, I feel like I took a lot of time for granted. Like, and not just the boys, even there's other friendships that I feel
Yeah,
like I neglected over the years too.
like I know one regret I have growing up. It's actually on my dad. It's actually on my dad, but like as being such a big wrestling fan, I wish I was a part of that crowd when I heard that glass shatter and my fucking hero came out,
Yeah,
man. And I wish I felt that fucking rush of that stone cold pop. And I'll probably never ever see Stone Cold live like this. You know what I mean? Like there's no
unless he
chance that
wrestles Hogan, go see him wrestle Hogan at WrestleMania. Did you see that rumor?
oh God.
Hogan wants to retire in a match against Austin at WrestleMania.
Okay, if Austin wouldn't have done it in like half, like just getting out of his prime, there's no way he's gonna do it as like a 58-year-old man. Like,
Can you
what is it?
imagine how horrible that'd be? I don't think Hogan can take a bump. Like,
No, I was surprised Austin took a bump.
yeah. Well,
Like,
Hogan a year ago said he had a quote like "I live in constant pain," basically, like something
yeah,
along. It's like,
yeah, but Hogan's like Flair, yo. They just strive. They need money, yo.
yeah, yeah,
Like, money, money. Though, the other regret I have is actually with obviously you guys. Like, I know you were kind of always made jokes about it when we were growing, like when we were like hanging out, but like like we call ourselves the boys. Obviously, this is the boys podcast, but like there's no way that me, you, and our other buddies, we never went to Cuba. We never went to the Dominican. We never went to Las Vegas. There was so
Yeah,
much missed opportunities for us to do that stuff, and not so much because we would have been acting the fool down there, but like to have those memories, like we missed
yeah,
out
true.
on we missed out on stuff. I remember I was like, yo, why don't we all get Cuba tickets? And it's only like at the time it was like $650 or whatever for whatever. And you're like, why the fuck would I go to Cuba? I can just go get drunk down at Innisful Beach. Like that,
That's exactly like the answer. That's
that,
hilarious.
that was your fucking attitude back then towards that kind of shit. You're like, why the fuck would I go do that? I'll fucking just get
You're
drunk down
right
at
though,
the
because every time we did any excursions, we had like the greatest time. The time we all went, the times we went like camping or like, oh man, I wish. I mean, I know it wasn't your thing, and especially you mentioned how in the earlier podcast how you had issues with like germs and stuff, so it probably wouldn't have been your thing. But when we, Gervais and David, went to Niagara Falls and went to the Disneyland of strip clubs,
Oh
the sun.
yeah.
Oh my god, that was unreal. That was unreal.
I actually
I remember we linked up with a bachelor party and Buddy shot the fucking stripper's thong into the pitcher, and I just grabbed the pitcher and just chug it down with the stripper's thong.
I'm a I don't wanna bring up the shit. I don't wanna bring up all the stuff you were doing though. Oh,
Oh my god! Oh, I went through a phase where I just loved strippers. I
fuck.
loved the strippers.
I'll just say, your girl thought we were bad, yo. Fucking you, yo. Oh, my boyfriend's too good. He never does anything with them. I'm like, okay. Whatever you think,
Beyonce
yo.
asked me one time about like strippers. Like I'm like, did you ever fuck any? I'm like, oh, I mean, I didn't fuck any, but I mean,
Who asked you?
the fiance.
Oh shit. She doesn't
Fucking
need to know. What happens on this podcast stays in the podcast, yo.
remember we were like we went there the one night, and I think you were with us, the one in Barrie, and then we go to the flea market the next day, and one of the girls working was at the flea market with her kid. At the end,
Oh god.
we're like, hey, we saw her last night.
That's what happens when you grow up in a small town, yo.
I
Oh,
remember. I don't want to say last names again, but I remember running into Pat and Ryan. You know who I'm
oh
talking about.
yes,
There
yes.
at the titty bar, and we would all sit perverts row.
Oh yeah.
I remember sitting perverts row, getting too drunk, and to realize like if you sit at the perverts row, you have to watch the dancer, right? Or else they get mad, like you're offending them, right? So I remember
Yeah.
getting drunk and like joking around with Pat and stuff so much that like some stripper was screaming at me. I didn't realize. I
Oh
looked,
yeah.
she's like, "You're a fucking pussy. You're a fucking," and then started calling me like all this homophobic slurs, like you're like FAG or whatever, because like I'm looking at this girl, she's up there dancing, and you're talking to him, talking to him.
I remember that. Yeah. I will say this though. Our first time going there, it was yourself, me, Gervais, David, and again my ex. And I remember the first time we went there, your ass put your $20 bill in your mouth and climbed
Yeah.
on the stage. So
Oh my god.
this girl ended up putting her fucking poon poon in your face, then going down. I remember I was just laughing so hard because she's going down on you, and then she pulls off your belt and she starts unzipping your pants, and I was like, "Oh my god, she's gonna fucking pull it out right here on the stage," and then she ends up lifting up your shirt and starts beating you with the belt.
Oh my god, she beat the fucking shit out of me. I basically paid like 20 bucks to get my ass kicked.
I was just dying when I seen that, man. Oh, that was hilarious, man.
I'm just glad that was my studded belt phase.
Yeah,
That would
but
have been
like
sad.
again, we talk about
Oh, I had
the
to lie to my ex the next day. Remember, I had to welt
oh
some, and she couldn't know that I was putting money in my mouth and climbing on stage. I acted like I was just going as like as a go with guy. So like
yeah.
she's like asking me, "What the hell happened to your stomach?" I'm like, "Oh, I guess I slept funny."
Oh. But yeah, you think about time lost, like look how much fun we would have had if we went on those little trips. So anyone who watches this that's younger than us, do those little trips, whether or not, even if it's half an hour, an hour away, do those trips with your buddies because those create some of the best memories, right? I would love to have memories of, us in Cuba. Now it's like, we could sit here and go, oh, we could still do it, which we could, but it's so hard now with work, wives, kids.
Yeah.
It's really difficult now, and
If we
it
ever did it, it would probably end up being in the future, and it'd be like a more family
yeah.
oriented thing. That's for sure.
And now it would kind of turn out to one of those things because we're not as, aggressive when we were younger. It'd be like we just kind of sit at the table, maybe have a couple drinks and be like, man, we used to have some balls, man. Now we're just, we're
Yeah,
just
man.
sitting there like
I
old
mean,
man.
you give me on
Is
the
there
right day, I can still turn it up, but for the most part, yeah, I just don't have it there. I just don't have the will or interest or ability to just turn it
that
up and party like I used to.
that's it, man. Half a tall boy and me, yo. I'm ready to go, yo.
That's all I'm
That's
saying. You ever just like get 2 beers in, you're like, dude, I feel exhausted right now. Like,
Yeah, because I remember in our high school days, like you and I could down 5, 6, 7, and we'd still like we'd be good, but we'd be like still remember like we'd be perfect walking straight, talking perfect, like it wouldn't even like
yeah.
affect us. But I will is there any advice that you could give to the younger generation um to help them out, from that leaving that high school. Let's say turning 16. When you turn 16, is there any advice you could give the younger generation to kind of guide them to, a path that will lead them to a more successful future?
I mean, probably not much more than like you've probably most people have heard before. You know, high school's not everything. Like, don't worry about what people think of you in high school because, like, at the end of the day, their opinions don't fucking matter. Once you get out of high school, it's even playing field. None of the social parameters matter of high school. Like, just go in there with confidence, try to get as much as you can out of it. I feel like I got tons of value out of high school outside of high school itself with friends and lots of
Yeah.
stories and experiences. And I feel like if I would have gone into high school a lot more timid and stuff, I might not have been able to have as many social like experiences and stuff. So yeah, just go in with confidence. Don't take shit from anybody. Maybe don't be as much of an asshole as we were at times, but don't take shit from anybody either. And
That's
yeah, do whatever is you. You know, if you're fucking making a Vietnam movie or fucking playing sports or whatever the fuck it is, just do it.
Yeah, just always like again, like I'll piggyback off you said, always just be yourself and stay true. Once you start hiding who you are, it just makes, your life so much the more difficult, like we talk about, our love for wrestling. Um, I don't know more like if you hit it, but I already said this before, like I was hiding that shit for
Million
decades. I was hiding that I liked anime, that I love toys, and then when we really got together and actually started getting some money, like that'd be one of the first things we do is, yo, Chris, let's go check out the toys, right?
yeah,
Like, and like, if I wish I never hit any of that stuff because like
yeah.
I want people to like me who I am, but like you said, don't care about
No,
what people think about you, because at the end of
makes
the
you cool.
day, they're hating on you because they wanna like they like the same things you like. They just don't have the balls to come out and fucking say it
Yeah.
or rock the gear. They're hiding something. So you don't have to hide anything. Just be who you are. And another advice I can give the young kids, please take this advice. Don't I know you want a big truck. I know you want a fast car. Do not put yourself in that financial strain where you're buying 50, 60 plus $1,000 vehicles when you're
Way too cardinal.
16, 17. You're not going to be able to pay it in that 6, 7, 5, 5, 6, 7 range. You're going to have to put it into that 8. God forgive it. The bank gives you 9. Horrible, horrible idea. Do not finance vehicles that long. Don't do it. Because when you go to buy a house in this day and age, they're going to put 3% on your payments. at 3% on all the other stuff you have, and there's no way you will get a mortgage. So just keep that in mind. I know we all want fast cars when we're cool. I always like that. You know, when I went to buy, I've had several cars, but when I went to go buy my first brand new car, um, obviously I took my father, and I ended up buying, my Mitsubishi Lancer.
Oh
And
yeah.
I remember when I went there, we were doing the financing, and I looked at my dad. I'm like, "What do you think?" And all my dad said was what he had to say. I'm not telling you nothing. You do what you want to do, because the minute I tell you something and you don't like this car, you're gonna blame me. And I would have blamed him. I would be like, you told me to fucking buy this thing. You said it was a good deal. And again, like a lot of the kids out there, this is where it's a double-edged blade for me, because buy the car that you want because you don't want to do what I did. I bought the Lancer, but the next week I was like, I should have bought the Evo. So now
Mm,
I'm going back trying to trade it in because now I want the faster car. But like, just it's a double-edged sword. Just make sure you do a
yeah.
term that's payable. Don't be paying over, you know, $250 bi-weekly for a vehicle for 8 years. Like, just be smart about it, right? But like,
Don't
it's crazy. It's crazy about look at this. I bought my car in 2015. I fucking wanted to trade it 3 months after. I couldn't trade it in, obviously, because I had so much debt, negative equity. So the next year, 2016, I go to trade it in. Everywhere's offering me 9 grand for it, 10 grand. Okay, seven. I had a 5 year term, so I paid that off. Had it for 2 extra years. Had no problems with the car. I sold the car for 13,000
wow.
to a deal. I just straight up sold it during COVID, during to a dealership for 13,000, when all the other dealerships a year after I bought it was only going to give me 85 to 9 grand.
That was a good
Like,
time to sell though, because of
yeah,
COVID. There was a shortage, right? So you got the peak value.
that's why I did it, right? And then I ended up buying the dream car. Like, I always wanted an Infinity, so I just bought an Infinity. But like, for you kids out there, I know I told you both ways: buy the car that you want because you don't want to look back, but make sure you buy the car you want. It's a term that makes sense. Do not finance a vehicle more than 6 years. That's the best advice I can give you, man. Do not do that, and try when you're young. I know they offer you credit cards up the ass. Make sure you're responsible with them, because
Yeah.
guys like myself, like, I'm not naive to my faults. Like, I spent a lot of dumb shit on, stuff I don't even know where the money went. And I'm sitting here 30 and I'm a renter when I should be an owner, right? Like, think
Yeah.
about think about the money we were making when we were younger, but the shit we were buying. If we would have just saved
No
up
helmets.
a little bit, right? We would have been owners than renters, but hey,
I have
it
this
is.
record collection behind me though.
Yeah, I know.
The worst comes to worst, I can build a little house out of them.
Yeah, you could just that you might be able to sell those for a couple 100,000 and buy a little Tyke's house.
I'd sell my body before I sold them.
A little
I'd sell
fucking.
my mother's body before I sold them.
No, but that's the best advice I did. When you make financial terms, just make sure it's affordable for young kids. Because I know I was like that. I wanted a fast car. I wanted something cool and shit, but I never took the deals because it didn't make sense financially. Like, I had, like, you guys might not know it. Like, I was gonna get a Mustang. I was gonna get an SS Camaro.
Oh
Like,
shit.
I had the paperwork done, signed and delivered. I told the finance guy, no, the max I'm going is 250 bi-weekly. I don't even want to go anywhere near 200,
Yeah.
but I will go that high. And they came back with like 320 bi-weekly. This was at the time when I had negative equity, okay, guys? So that's the difference when you finance a car longer and you get all the warranties on it. Your car's not worth shit. But I had negative equity, and then they're like 320, and then I remember the one guy's like, "You just can't go up an extra like $70." I'm like, "Buddy, I'm not financing that Camaro, even though I want it." for fucking 7 years at $320. You know, like, sorry,
Fuck
bro.
that.
I know I want to be cool in it, but shit, man, don't make sense. So
Yeah.
just
That's a hell of
make
a
sure
commitment.
make sure you do things for the long term. That's the best advice I can give.
Yeah. Yeah. The best, or, maybe don't worry about your finances. Don't worry about a job. Try opioids. Don't worry about being kind to people. That's the
Hey,
best.
hey, you can get us kicked off, yo. YouTube's gonna review this and go, nah, when the boys podcast, they talk about sex and drugs and opioids.
What I meant to say is psych.
Have you ever have you ever tried like Viagra or anything? I just I don't know,
No,
like have you ever
never have. I've always been scared because I know that it's like I've heard like stories of having heart attacks. I know it's usually like old guys or whatever, but like yeah, I just figured like don't really have any need for it, so I never really fucked around with it.
I
I
can
also
tell you
heard
that
horror stories about guys getting ones that they can't get rid of and having to go to the hospital and stuff.
yeah. I can tell you not with that. Like I've never used that, but getting old is a fucking real thing. And I'll tell you young kids, man, like now that I have kids, like everything worries you. You know what I mean? Because I just want to be there for everything they do and ever like growing up. So like if I have like a little bit of chest pain, I'm like worrying so bad. I go to the hospital. I get checked because like we're getting older, right? And I'm like,
It's true.
I never used to get chest pain. Like, where's this coming from? But now that I
Yeah.
have like you have kids, you have your wife, you just want to be there, you know, for them. So you got to really a lot of things like little injuries. They hurt like a motherfucker now. I had some random guy message me and he's like, "Hey, can you want to come play for my ball hockey team?" I'm like, "Buddy, I haven't played hockey in like 3 years. I gained like 40 pounds, and there's no way I can run and not get hurt." Like, this is just like no way.
Yeah, I wonder that. I haven't ran like for any long period of time, but in like years. So I wonder, like, am I even capable of running like for any duration without like tearing a hamstring or something? Like,
All right. Okay, we talked about a lot of things in our open book episode. I'm not going to close it now, but I just want to see um, what you're going to say here for this. What's one thing you've noticed in like the last 10 years, body wise or whatever, that you go, holy fuck, I'm old? Is there
uh,
something that you go, oh, so like, I know we just talked about, like, I know when like we look back in time and we go, like, say we compare it to wrestling, because at that time was the peak that me and you were like really, really into it. And we would go to the movie theater and watch it. We would watch all the events together. And it's like, I can't believe that shit happened over a decade ago.
no, I know.
Like, I know that makes us feel old, but is there something else that you kind of go, holy fuck, like, I used to be able to do this, or I used to be able to stay up till, 1 o'clock in the morning and not feel like, is there anything?
Physically, I don't notice that much yet. Like, I've been lucky because like I've done nothing to take care of myself. I've had generally a pretty bad diet. Physically, I haven't noticed much really, other than like I get more hairs. That's pretty much about it. But I have noticed, like, I know, like, in recent years, like, I picked up like a basketball. I go to like do a shot. Biggest thing is I notice is when I go try to do a layup, and I'm like, whoa, this like motion that does like feels so unnatural. Like, if I'm sure if I would videotape myself doing it, it would look so awkward. Where when we were young, you go long periods of time about playing a sport or something, and like your body would just kind of do what your mind remembered. And
Yeah.
now, like, almost like I have to like work my way. I have to work my way up to just even be able to have the motion fluid anymore. Like, things just seem to like move a little bit more awkward and a little bit more like clunky now.
Yeah, like I know few things that make me like I know I'm old. Obviously, I talked about the little pain in the chest, this and that, but like my nephew is like 12, and I'm like, what the fuck?
That's wild.
Yeah, like we remember when he was
A
just
little,
he couldn't even pick his head up. He was trying to
yeah.
fight and pick his head up, and we were watching like Rampage Jackson still fighting the UFC. Like
Yeah,
it was
and we're
craziness.
having to
Like
tell Shelly not to swear in front of him.
yeah, But like that, and also like I remember my nephew again, like when he was like 7 or 8, he got into skateboarding, and he was like, "Oh, Uncle Chris, can you skateboard?" Because I was back in the day, I was a good skateboarder. I was like, "Oh yeah, I should be able to do the shit." Holy fuck, buddy! I can tell you now, I've never fallen off a skateboard so much in my life. Like it was insane. Like I was able to still stop myself and not like hit my head. Like I still had that motion, but the ability to like flip the board and jump high, I just did not have the vertical that I had
You
when I
do
was
it all.
younger.
You can still do an ollie or anything like that, or
Oh yeah, I could do ollie. I could do a lot of flip tricks, but like landing them, the
yeah,
like I didn't like when I was a kid. I didn't know skateboarding was so like hard on the legs and joints because you're a kid.
yeah.
You don't feel
You
it.
don't notice the impact. Yeah,
The next day, I couldn't even walk.
the
Like
joints.
yeah,
Back in.
my quads, my hams, my calves, my ankles. Like oh, I was like holy fuck. I could yeah
Oh,
like
I thought of one. Have you ever know? I don't know. You might be affected by this too, but I've developed in recent years as I've gotten older. Never had before a fear of heights, and it's a physical fear. Like it's not a mental fear. Like I'll now be on a height, like a tall bridge, or like I've been on a roller coaster, but I assume it'd be the same. But even like a bridge, we drive to like Hampton or Niagara Falls or whatever, and you go over like a big bridge, or not Niagara Falls, what am I saying? Whatever. You go over like a tall bridge, and I literally my stomach start to like sink.
I don't know more about heights. Like I'm weird with heights. Like I don't like heights, but when I'm up there or I gotta do it, I'll go okay, I'll do it. But I've never been a fan of roller coasters. You know that.
Oh
Like
no,
I
no, I
I
guess you never did do roller coasters. Yeah.
no, I don't like roller coasters, but no, I haven't noticed so much of the height. The one thing that I've noticed a lot now, and I don't know if it's because I have a family, uh, I I do not trust people. Like I
Oh
don't
yeah.
like when my wife, it's like, oh, I'm gonna take him out for a stroller ride or something. I'm like, oh, well, don't go by yourself. Make sure you take someone with. Like, I just don't
Right.
trust.
Yeah, it's good.
I don't know if it's the society we live in. I'm just one of the. I never thought I'd be a parent like that because our parents were just kind of, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
those.
go do what you want, whatever. But I'm like, no, don't let them go here. Don't do this. Make sure I'm there. Oh, make sure you watch them. Like that's what I've noticed. I don't know if that's me getting old or just not trusting, you know,
Yeah. How
people.
hard was it? 'Cause I always think about like how hard it's gonna be when I have kids to start to drive with them at first.
To which drive?
To have them in the car and drive. Like, was that scary at first? Because
No.
like normally you just have yourself in the car and it's like something happens, it's just me. And then it's like you suddenly have like this valuable asset.
Yeah, no. The it's actually funny and like you'll notice it when you end up having yours. But we were at the hospital. Like this is how they did it. It was so weird. So we were at the hospital. Mary has the twins. So she just had twins. Uh, the one wasn't coming out like Theo was coming, but they had to snip her a little bit to get some more room. So
Right.
she's going through that. She just had twins. Then they wheel her out of there. Like I swear, it was like 15 minutes after. Put her in a bed. She's bleeding all over the place. Then they bring the babies back in. Then they're like, okay, it's time to breastfeed. I'm like, what the fuck? You
But
can't give her a second. So they're trying to get them to latch on. They latch on. They're breastfeeding. Then they're like, okay, go take a shower, rinse up. So she's in pain. She just had 2 kids. She can hardly walk. She's cut open down there. She's got to take a shower. So she showers, and they're like, okay, Dad, you got to take off your shirt. Body heat's important. So I'm holding one. And then she comes out, tries to drive. She's holding one. And then all of a sudden, they put us in another room. And then they go, okay, we'll be back every 2 hours. And they just leave you with the kids. And you're like, what the, what the fuck?
what is this?
Like, what are we supposed to do? Like, because you gotta remember, like, she's exhausted, she's tired.
Yeah.
We have 2 babies, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, it was terrible because they took Theo stayed with us, but they took Clay because his blood sugar was a little low, so they had to take him
Right.
to. the room to kind of put the light on him and shit like that. So he
Right,
wasn't with
right.
us, which made it a little bit easier. But mentally, like we wanted him to be with us. But basically, like yeah, we were there for like 2 more days, and like it was just weird. It's like every 2 hours or 3 hours they come check on you. Oh, how you doing? They would prick the baby's toes, take their blood, see how much sugar or whatever's in it, and then they would leave again. And then when we were about to leave, okay, let me show you guys how to bathe the baby. They give you like a quick thing. That's it. And then I'm like, they're like, "Oh, you have car seats?" I'm like, "Yeah, got to go get the car seats. Bring them." This is what you're talking about here. Um, car seats. I don't even know how to put them in the car seat. They're like, "Okay, I'm gonna show you quick." They show us how to put them in the car seat. Like they're so small because they were 2 months premature, right? Because
Right.
they're twin boys, so they're so small. They were only 5.5 pounds, so you can imagine them in a fucking car seat. So we have so we have to wheel her down in the wheelchair. I'm carrying two babies. We load them up, put her in the car. She goes in the back to sit with them, and it wasn't nerve wracking at all. But driving with them, it's not too bad because, like, at that point, you kind of want to prepare yourself to get. You don't have to, but it's good to have an SUV because it's more safe, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Or a minivan or something.
yeah. But when we get home, that's when it gets kind of weird because you get home and it's different now because you have this little human with you, and with us it was two little humans, and we're
Yeah.
like, and then we get home, it's quiet, the kids are sleeping, and I remember the house was a mess because Mary's um water broke, but instead there was a lot of blood that came out, so there was just like a murder scene. So we had to clean,
Right. Right.
so we had to clean up everything. And then we just have these two kids there, and it's like different from when we grew up because it was like now you got to feed them. They're like, oh, you have to feed them every 2 hours. So we're on a every 2 hour schedule. We got to wake them up nighttime. This got to feed them, and then you're scared because you don't want to feed them at night and they don't burp because you don't want them to go to bed without burping just in case they choke or whatever. So it's those are
Yeah.
the nerve wracking parts, man. Like those are
Right.
things that you and Carrie Ann will kind of figure out the point when you finally have a child and it's like you bring them home and it's like you don't want to go to bed because you just want to make sure they're okay, right? Like
Yeah.
those are little things. There's this thing you can get, like I have an extra one because I had two, obviously. It's called this owlette that goes on the baby's foot and it's attached to your phone and it actually has their heartbeat and everything. So those
Yeah.
are
Eh?
great. Those are great for new parents, but
Right. Yeah. So you can
it's
always
never
have, even if you.
it's never nervous to drive with them, but when they get a little older, it's annoying because they just fucking cry in the back and you can't do anything. And it's like, man, will you just shut up for like 5 minutes, man? Like
They're
my
not
my
even old
wife,
enough to go. Are we there yet? Yet.
my wife can take it. I can't take. That's the only thing I can't do is the crying in the backseat. I'm like, I can't do the crying. I'm like, will you guys just be quiet for like a minute? I try
Wait.
everything.
Oh man, I
Well,
can't wait till until they get a little older and you can do the classic dad thing when they're being
yeah,
bad and reach around, try to grab the leg. It's the
I do that
classic dad.
now. I do
Oh
that now.
yeah, that's the classic dad move. Stop it
They
back
kind
there,
of,
I'm gonna grab your leg.
yeah, they kind of just start laughing. But yeah, no, it's just weird when you guys are finally in that situation and it just happens so quick, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, bye, and you're like, what the hell? There's just we're in this room now and there's a baby and it's like, what am I supposed to do? Like it's weird, But no, it's a good time. I would say if you're prepping, just make sure before her due date, like even like I know I was ready prepared like 2 months because we knew they were gonna come early. I prepared all the bags. I had everything waiting in the lobby room, so when it was time, I could just fucking wheel it out and throw it in the trunk, man. So make make sure you prepare yourself, man.
Yeah,
But
I'm
it's
just
life
not.
changing. It's life changing, man. You just want to be there all the time. It just sucks that we got to do the work thing, and then you only see them so much. But it's a blessing.
If you would have had to guess in high school, who do you think would you thought you would be the first one to have kids?
I actually would have thought Gervais.
I was gonna say that too.
Not for the fear fact that he wanted one. I just think he would like just kind of
It just would have
irresponsible.
happened.
I
Yeah, yeah,
think
that's what I was gonna say. He would just knock some chick out.
but when it came down to it, I knew like Mary wanted. Obviously, I knew Mary wanted kids. She works with kids, but I was only adamant with the right person. So I'm like, okay, I'm getting older now. I don't want to have kids when I'm in like my mid 30s. So this
When
is
you're
like the
already
perfect,
damaged goods.
it's like the perfect time, right? But like, I didn't
Yeah,
want that because I was looking at long term. Like when they're out of high school, I didn't want to be like almost like
that
60,
old. Yeah,
right? Like I still
yeah,
want to be young and be able to hang out and do the things that they want to do, right? So that's the thing with our age. A lot of people now that we went to school with, I see them posting a
later.
lot of things, and they're now having a lot of kids. I wish I actually had mine maybe 5 years ago. I would have liked
Yeah,
to be because then they would have been 10 already, and I would have been, you know,
playing
big and
hockey and
done.
stuff. You
Yeah,
playing
so
hockey right now, road hockey.
yeah, so it's one of those things, man. Driving with kids though, when they're newborn, isn't too bad. Just like make sure you feel safe in the vehicle. It's not more you're driving, it's everyone else, right? So
Yeah,
right now, obviously, we have a big SUV, and I have a G37, so I have a mid-sized sedan. But if when I go to get a new vehicle, I'm probably gonna upgrade to a bigger SUV, like a big SUV, like a Cadillac type, that size, or a truck. Just
yeah,
for
yeah.
just
For
for
the
more
safety.
just for more of the safety, because I commute, and it's just a safety. If I get hit in a truck, you really don't feel too
Yeah,
much, right? That's only the little
yeah.
things, I would say. Like a van would be the same too. If you get rear-ended or something, you're not gonna feel anything, right? So that's all. That's all I can say. Just prep the bags. Make sure you bring lots of snacks and stuff because obviously it was during COVID we had ours, so it was much different, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how it is now, but make sure you bring snacks because her water might break and they might go and she's only, you know, three, three, 3 centimeters dilated. So you gotta wait 2, 3, 4 days, maybe in a week before she's opened up enough to, start labor, right?
And yeah, with COVID, they probably didn't even have the subway in the hospital open.
No, they did.
Oh,
They
they
did.
did. Nice.
Yeah, they did. They had everything open, so I'd go down there and get breakfast, and then dinner and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a weird thing, man. And then when you go home, there's kids shitting out black and fucking all this shit, yo.
Wouldn't surprise me. You should see what comes out of my ass. You
Yeah,
should see
that's
the things that go in my ass.
it. Cheeseburgers. Well, buddy, 2 hours in. I
Yeah,
think we should wrap it up. Obviously, this was our first open book episode. I'm sure we'll do another one. This time, we'd like to have some people comment and maybe ask some questions what you guys want to know. We're okay with answering anything. Like I said, we're pretty open, down to earth guys. We kind of, you know, we go between the lines. We don't kind of ride the line and do, um, the generic thing or say the generic thing. We're pretty real and honest. But I'll let Dan break down next week's episode, which is going to be a fun one.
yeah. So a little inspired by the concept of our last week where we did our fantasy wrestling promotion draft. We're thinking of doing a fantasy hockey draft where we both draft an entire team, so 4 lines and 2 goaltenders for each team. And what we're looking at doing current players, right?
No, we can
All
do
time, all
any
time,
all time. We'll
all
do
time.
all
Sweet,
time.
all time. Our all time team. So Dan's all time team, Chris's all time team. We'll draft them next week. And probably have draft boards again, give a little visual for everybody so you can keep track of the picks. And yeah.
Yep, it'll be a good time. So again, thank you anyone for coming out and watching. Thank anyone watching. Again, we went 2 hours, a little longer than we thought we were gonna go with this one because it was just kind of off the top of the head. But we will see you guys always next week.
See you next Sunday, guys.